beautiful beings. I am going live again. The reason for that is because I just can't help but teach right now. I just can't help but speak right now. Some of you may have known I've been going through an extensive process with the sick for quite some time now. And, it's really tried to take my voice away from me. And my voice is a part of my purpose, a huge part of my purpose. And so what I'm finding happen is that there's a kickback within my soul that just wants to speak and teach and transmit and do what I'm here to do, even though I'm having like lung and throat fatigue. If you receive value from this teaching today or my sharing today, you feel inspired by my work, you would like to give where you have received, then know that you can find my my Venmo and my PayPal and my Linktree. The inspiration, again, for this video was something that Alexandra asked on a post that I had. So she had asked about which grid areas I work. So if you saw some of my posts from yesterday, I was really being very clear about who I am, what I've done, what my influence is. For those of you who are not as familiar with me, I'm Ashtyn Monea. Monea stands for Mother of New Earth. This is what I'm called out in the galactics. This is my purpose here. This is something that I have been very devotedly and diligently committed to orchestrating and threading into creation so that humanity in Gaia could move forward into a new evolutionary state of being, which is New Earth. And this, of course, doesn't only affect Gaia nor humanity, it affects the totality of creation. The work that Gaia is doing is so fucking immense. She is the ultimate code collector. This is why I love her. I consider myself an international code dealer. I'm all about getting them codes. My multidimensional history, one part of that is that I traveled throughout the galactics, and I was alongside someone that you would consider a finder. You might be familiar with finders because you might yourself be a finder. There are experts in finding whole lost civilizations, lost relics, finding information within creation itself. So I did a lot of traveling work with this finder among the galactics in order to code collect, in order to retrieve very pivotal information. Why was I doing that? Well, that's because I hold a golden thread of creation. And I'm a code collector. So that means that I can weave all these various things together. The more the information that I receive, the more codes that I collect, the more spaces within creation that I have touched, the more I bring with me into any space that I move through, including this incarnated human form that I'm in right now. I am an OG of creation. I am one of the very first originals from creation itself. This is how I hold a golden thread of creation. It's basically like being an original divine child of creation itself as it emerged into being. So my nation of origination is an elemental nation, which is just like above the golden formation of creation itself. So this may or may not translate for you. If it does, that's great. If it doesn't, that's okay. Just know that the information is here. You might receive this bit and not that bit, and that's totally fine. We're all at different levels of understanding and learning and consciousness and growing. So as I traveled throughout the galactics and I was code collecting, what I was doing was actually in service to Gaia. So I first connected with Gaia when I was a planetary system. When we travel throughout creation, okay, and like I'm saying, I'm an OG of creation. The more I travel throughout the creation itself, the more consciousness I gain, the more creative capacity I gain, the more my container holds. Okay, so all parts of creation, you may or may not be familiar with the torus, but everything's a torus. Other dimensions, you're passing through a portal into a torus. Gaia herself, right? She has a torus around her energetic body. We have toruses around our energetic body. Everything in creation is a toroidal field. So if you're not familiar with the torus, then it is this part right here. It's the purple part. Okay, this is the torus. When you travel throughout creation and you gather momentum, as in your own expansion, when we're talking about expansion, we're actually talking about growing your energetic container, what you are able to hold that is within creation itself. So creation itself is the largest container there is, and each of us are souls traveling as aspects of creation. And again, the more that we grow, the more that we hold. So when I was saying to you all that I have traveled around and I have code collected and I have gained information from all these various areas through various multidimensional spaces, different nations of origination, just different threading within creation. There's so much in the ultimate expanse. I was doing so with intentionality. I connected with Gaia when I was a planetary system, and being a planetary system means that you have grown your container. I mean, look at Gaia, right? She's a big globe, a big toroidal field. So you have grown in what you can hold within creation. So I connected with Gaia when I was a planet, and I was like, oh man, look at her over there. Girl, you will be looking good. You be looking fine. You're doing some things. You're doing some things in a really brilliant way in which creation needs. It needs your very unique way of creating and imprinting. So Gaia has that third dimensional reality. Now I know that a lot of times in the spiritual community, the third dimensional reality is looked down upon, but this is fucking ridiculous because the magic of the third dimensional reality is to condense. Okay, so when we're condensing energetics. We're actually condensing things into closer proximity. What does this mean for us as human beings, but also as souls on Gaia? This means that she is co-collecting to every single place that we have ever been. And so we have people who are, their nation of origination might be Pleiades, Arcturian, Sirian, Elemental, right? There's so many more than what we view as like, that we hear of, right, in popular spiritual kind of cultures. Because the ones that we're hearing the most about are the ones that have like kind of collected around Gaia in this very devotional way, and that people kind of more so connect to more frequently. So the evolution of humanity, she's bringing us into a condensed physical form. So as a soul, you could have had a lifetime as an Arcturian, had a lifetime as a Pleiadian, had a lifetime as blah, 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 blah. But see, all of those lifetimes had a kind of sense of separateness in them. You didn't remember the totality of who you were as you were here and you were here. You were focused on being an angelic being because you needed to solely be an angelic being without the other threading from all these other places getting in there. Otherwise, you would not be able to fully embrace your angelic self. What is the next stage of evolution? The next stage of evolution is going to be us here, condensed in physical form, able to integrate and expand the totality of who we are and have been throughout all time space realities. That is Gaia's gift. That is Gaia's provision. That is Gaia's magic. That is the provision of the third dimensional space. So when people put down the third dimensional space, they're not looking at it from Gaian magic. They're not looking at it from integration. I am, again, Mother of New Earth, Monea. I am a major anchor of New Earth. Okay, what are some of the threading that makes me a match for this work? Because I'm not speaking out of my ass. Truth reveals itself through the patterns. There's many connections to why I am Monea, what I have done, and why I was selected for this work. Again, I have connected with Gaia for the first time when I was a planetary system. This means that I can hold the energetics within creation that are equal to a planetary system. Only someone who had been a planetary system would have been able to birth Gaia's energetic body. Because if not, their system would not be able to hold Gaia's new, larger energetic container. It also took an energetic architect. So if you get to a planetary system in your evolution throughout creation, you have to learn the architecture work of creation itself in order to actually build that planetary system. That's how it comes to be. So I have the skills from being a planetary system to support Gaia in her evolution. And when I saw her looking fine as hell when I was a planet, I was like, I want to support you. I want to support what you are doing and what you're going, because she is such a fucking badass. Why are all these beings from all over the galactics leaning in on Gaia? Why is there such an emphasis on Gaia? It's because of exactly what I was talking about with the power that she brings, because of that third dimensional space that she is uniquely bringing in her way of doing that. And then in bringing her ultimate code collecting abilities with her massive feminine invitation, because that's how we code collect. And this is also what has brought us here. She has literally invited us onto her planet, right, to co-create alongside of her. So the question that Alexandra had asked about, she had posted this this photo, and it says arc grids, and it's talking about like the Amenti grids. Above are the original primary Earth grids for Earth's mission and supporting evolution after the fall of Terra. They're known as base 12 grids. This means that coding up to D12, for example, DNA and so on, is needed to be able to draw all aspects, blah, 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 blah. I can't see the rest of it. And there's this picture, and the picture has a Fibonacci sequence, right? Let's see if I can show you guys at all. Maybe you'll be able to see that here. So this is what it looks like. So something to know and understand about me is that I am a channel. I am a channel of universal wisdom. I do not research, like barely at all. I only look up something because I have an inquiry and I know that it's meant for me. Or more oftentimes, what happens is someone brings me something by divine orchestration, and it is exactly kind of tying into, it's like another thread that's like, oh, there's that breadcrumb. Here's part of what you're doing, or here's part of the information. And so it helps me kind of follow my evolutionary process throughout creation, being Mother of New Earth, Monea. I cannot read a lot of books. My guides, which are pretty much mostly me, even though I have a lot of beings that support me. Like, you can't be Monea and not have like beings from all over the galactics in every place that I've been, not being in support of the work that I'm actually doing here, because it's fucking unreal that I'm even here in a human body. So it's taken a long time to get here, y'all. And I've been here for a long time too. I try to read books and my eyes will go, I literally can't see the words. This is because I'm original blueprint. I am here for very specifically what I'm here for. And divinity orchestrates around me so strongly that it prevents me from engaging in information that's going to take me off of my life path and the work that I'm meant to do here. So it's basically to keep the threading clean. You'll see this in my community too, by the way, you guys. People are ejected from my field all the time. If you're not meant, don't be here. I don't want you here. You should not be here. Divinity doesn't want you here, because it's better that you're there and I'm here. So I'm saying that there's like kind of limitations to my ability to research, but it's because there's such immensity in the information that I receive and how I meant to receive it and how I meant to weave it and what I'm here to do. That is actually why I have those limitations. I'm not familiar with this languaging, but there are things that this image in these words elicited within me. So I might not be answering some like your question exactly, Alexandra, but I've kind of explained why that would be. And it's not because of lack, it's actually because there's particular things orchestrating around me that prevent me from tuning into this in a like more researchy way. But what I saw from this image and with your question, so there were some things that stood out. The main thing that stood out, because you're asking me, okay, what grids do you work with? I am the grid. I am the grid. I'm not just working with the grid, I am the grid. So Monea, Mother of New Earth, I constructed, and then I birthed the energetic container that is Gaia's new energetic body. That is New Earth. And I can't tell you guys how I did that, because that's like such a long, intricate process. So those things don't happen overnight, right? So that's not appropriate for this live. But what I can say is that I had to be blasted off There's a whole bunch of internet architecture work. Please do not think that this little bit of what I'm telling you is what I did. I did so much more than this. So I had to blast off. I had to go through a very designated Stargate. Thank you to the Arcturian beings that facilitated this. I love you so much for your contributions. I love my Arcturian friends and beings. They are just fucking amazing. So I had to go through this very particular Stargate, which then sent me to a very particular point. Okay, we have points. We have points in the quantum field. We have points within creation itself. So it's like, you know, I've been able to tell some of my friends who are astral travelers, I can actually telepathically give them a point within creation, and then they can go find, I'm like, oh yeah, there's this place. And for example, like I'm like, it's got this code tree, and the code tree is legit, and this is what it looks like, and this is blah, blah, blah. And then I've had those friends go, thank you so much for those proximity points. I went there and I received information from that exact tree, whatever it may be, right? So there are proximity points, okay? And also remember what I was saying earlier about my travels all around the galactics in order to code collect. I also have learned how to keep things hidden. If you travel with a finder, which I was traveling with a finder while I was code collecting and weaving, you also learn how to keep things sacred, how to keep things hidden. This is what I did when I created and have maintained the portals on Earth that I deeply am connected to, that we're finally able to be opened up within 2021 for the first time. And I've been here for a long time, you guys. This has never been able to happen. So we're in a beautiful evolutionary transition the guy has long wanted. I know it looks like unstable, but that's what happens before true beauty arrives. So I was able to keep this proximity point hidden and sacred within creation. It's like you have to have the key to the door. You have to have the exact matching harmonic key to the door. I am a divine child. I hold the golden thread. There are particular harmonics that I bring that no other being could bring. So I want to be really clear about this, y'all, because I know other people are doing other work, and I thank you so much for your other work. But I alone did this, and I get to hold that, and I get to own that. So I blasted off. I got that. I had that proximity point. That proximity point connected. Oops, I'm on erase right now. Hold on. Let me do this differently. I got that proximity point. Okay, so let's say this is where this point was. And once I had that point and I have the key and I go through the door, it goes. This is actually a pattern that if you look at black holes, if you look at elements of creation like cells, if you can track this pattern. This allowed me to travel around the entire energetic container that is New Earth to bring it back to completion, which, by the way, my birthday is 1/9. I'm full spectrum. I see full spectrum. I say that I see like a mantis shrimp. This is true. This is how my everyday reality is. Again, this is why I was an exacting match for this evolutionary work. So full spectrum and went boom, completion. Okay. Was able to tune back into that. Why don't you want to work, bro? Oh, come on. Oh, low battery. Okay. So I got back to that point and the point of completion. Then I was able to travel back through the Stargate. This meant I traveled back into the smaller container that was existing around Gaia. So if we want to look at that includes patriarchy. Okay. So let's see if I can come back here. There's so many threads, y'all. Okay. Multidimensional history lesson. Remember, I first connected with Gaia when I was a planet. I said, yo, boo, you looking good. Let's do work. I had to go through a whole process to go from a huge ass planetary system to incarnate to all these different places in order to then come closer to Gaia. At some point, I was an angelic being. I was working with Gaia's firmament. Gaia's firmament it was like her clean sacred geometry that was her energetic body and field. And at that time, like I literally have memory. I see it. The sky was like all the colors. It was so beautiful, pastel, beautiful, right? Because it was in proper state of harmonics. And then there was an energetic attack. Think about it almost like an atomic bomb. That's an energetic attack that hit Gaia's energetic body. Okay. When that hit Gaia's energetic body, which by the way, I knew that it was coming. I knew that it was going to happen because that's how far back I was weaving and I knew what was coming. When you're an OG of creation, you have a thread going so far back. That imprint goes from past to future. You also have future insight. That's why I have prophetic visioning. So I knew it was coming. And more recently, I started getting even more memory. I just get more and more memory. My Akashic is here and it activates. One of my missions here is to remember myself whole the whole way. And I'm very serious about it because this is the evolution of humanity and I'm leading it. So I remembered more recently that I had already remembered the hit, but I remember more details. When that hit, it broke the sacred geometry, which was Gaia's healthy energetic container and her healthy firmament. And the beings that were there, many of us, we fell to earth. So when you hear about fallen angels, it's actually the angelic beings that were working within Gaia's firmament that got hit by this energetic collision and then fell to earth. And as we were falling, I was literally going, it's okay. We're all going to be okay. Like, think about a movie when the plane's going down, but there's like this like light music going on. That's what I was in that moment because I knew this is divinity. Malevolent forces are always in service to creation itself, and creation itself is a benevolent force, period. That's what the alchemist knows. So we fell to earth and I went down into interdimensions. Okay, cool. I love that you've read this. This is the thing is I share these things with people and then I love when people are like, oh yes, that connects to this thing and that connects to this thing because I don't do the research. So people very frequently confirm what my memories are through some of the things that they then have access to and know about that I don't. So thank you for sharing that. Still trying to remember who I am. Girl, aren't we all? That is what we are literally here for. We are here to remember ourselves whole the whole way. And this is why, you guys, I am leading with true power. I'm going, this is who I am. And I am bringing, as an OG of creation, a lot of power, a lot of memory, a lot of devotion, right? I am bringing the New Earth container. I'm a New Earth leader. In order for me to actually hold myself whole is at some fucking next level shit. But the reason why is because that's my provision to you guys. If I have to hold this fucking much, you get to hold that much of who you are. This is why the larger containers within creation, if you've been here since the beginning, you might understand what I'm saying. The larger containers within creation provide the provision to containers behind them to grow into the larger container of consciousness and creation. I am here to provide the elements, the larger container and the teachings. That's why I'm an evolutionary educator. I teach people how to remember themselves. And actually I help you remember yourself because I remember myself and I do a lot of code work and there's so many, there's so much in my work. I could never possibly put it into word because there's so much that I am and thus so much that I offer. But I'm helping people remember themselves and not only remember themselves, teaching you guys about why you're meant to remember yourselves, how you remember yourself, right? How you ground yourself. How do you hold the truth of who you truly are and your true power in a world that is continuously disempowering you? Because you're going to get the pushback, just like you see on my page. I get a lot of pushback about who I am, right? People constantly calling me egotistical. And I'm like, I literally have no ego motivations here, like for sharing who I am. In fact, I have had to deal with the fear, which I know those of you who are remembering yourselves or you have fears about sharing who you are because it is not easy. And there is spiritual warfare going on. And trust being Monea in this world and being like, I'm Mother of New Earth, it definitely elicits fear. I have died for being known before. I've been here for a very long time. I want all of you to remember yourself because your true power gets to live. Fear doesn't get to take down your true power. The truth of who you are is not changed by patriarchy that tells you can't be that. You are that powerful. But you need to remember who you are in order to hold more of your historical record, in order to hold more of who you truly are, to show up in the world and go, this is who I fucking am. No apology. So I love that you are trying to remember who you are, Alexandria. Of course, if you're interested in my work, just know I'm here. I'm here as a resource. I also want advanced evolutionary beings to know that there is a resource because there's a lot of fucking shit out there that isn't real, that doesn't facilitate, and it definitely doesn't facilitate the high levels that I facilitate, period. I've never met anyone who facilitates the levels I facilitate at. And I'm wanting advanced beings who haven't been able to be met, right, by other facilitators to know that they have resources. So, and then I lead in speaking about who I am because I want you to then go, I have permission to speak who I am into existence. And to watch what happens, of course, so that you're aware of the pushback that's going to happen when you rest in your true power. So, okay, let's get back here. Fell to earth, right? Fell to earth. Remember, I'm a divine child. I hold the golden thread. I was meant to fall to new earth. This is what is so hilarious to me about malevolence, because again, it's always in service to benevolence. And I knew that that energetic atomic bomb to Gaia's body was going to hit. And trust, I have full compassion for Gaia and the pain of that. I literally have to feel the pain of that. You don't hold Gaia's energetic body in her container without feeling the fullness of her pain. She's not like up on some pedestal. She doesn't ache. Yeah, she does. She's a being just like every one of us. And so again, I want to add another thing in here that when people see me aching and crying and I share my human, I share my process, I share my vulnerability. My window of tolerance is so much higher than people can imagine. When I am moving through my feelings, I'm feeling the pain of Gaia. That's what I'm crying, right? There's a difference between crying about I spilt milk and crying about the pain of Gaia. That's the level to which I process through my body. So I want to be very clear about this because people are getting confused about who the fuck I am. And they show up and go, oh, I'm here to hold space. And I'm like, you can't hold space for me. I need for you to, it would be more beneficial to me right now if you understood that you couldn't hold space for me because I'm holding a larger container and I'm processing more than you can possibly imagine, which is why you are seeing me as a weak being right now while I'm crying the entire ache of a fucking energetic atomic bomb that hit Gaia's body that I'm processing through my body. The ley line that atomic bomb hit on Gaia's physical body is imprinted on my body. It is the main ley line that I work with. So to answer one of your questions, Alexandria, relative to like you're just kind of inquiring about like what I'm working with in the grid, there is a main ley line within Gaia. It's the Pangea ley line. It's actually where I hit directly on it. That was intentional to hit her right where her power is. Isn't that what infiltration looks like, you guys? Like malevolence, it always tries to get you in your purpose and in your mastery and in your magic. Aurora Rose Weisman, beautiful. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you. I love seeing you guys here. I really do. So much. Hey, by the way, if any of you guys know someone and you think that my work would resonate with them, please give them my information and ask them to send me a friend request and also message me to say, hey, I got a referral or a reference to connect with you because I very rarely look at my friend requests and I'm here for resident community only. And I really am like a temple. Not everyone's allowed in here, like just straight up. So if you connect with my work, like you're the ones that I want people to be linked to, right? To come in and share space. And I really am here for the highest evolution of humanity. My words and my work are potent magic, and I want more and more people to be available to receive that. So please network on my behalf. Okay, so I hit in that main ley line, the Pangea ley line, when the energetic collision happened. Again, I knew that was going to happen. I needed to be closer to Gaia. Remember, I've been journeying all the way from back here when I was a planet to get closer and closer to Gaia. And I was out in her atmosphere, and that hit needed to happen in order for a planetary system, a high-level being at that level, to be able to pierce through Gaia's energetic body to get here, to arrive here. I pre-planned that shit. So thank you, malevolence, for being in service to benevolence. I hit the ley line, the Pangea ley line, and I actually went further down. I went into Gaia's innermost dimension. So is Gaia the name of 3D Earth? Yeah, so I call Mother Earth Gaia. That's the name that resonates with me to call her. And for me, like, she's cool with me calling her that. So I really appreciate names that end in A. They seem to be pretty divine. So yes, thank you for asking that for clarity. I went into her inner dimensions. Inevitably, I actually arrived at her core. Okay, that's like the closest you can get to Gaia's center, the closer you get to her essence. I am a seer of soul. When you are a seer of soul, what you're looking at is someone's core essence. It's what rests at their core. Okay. I literally tune into people's core essence, and because of the harmonics that I bring, anything that is not in alignment with their core essence, it gets agitated. I can realign things. I get people that, again, project on me because the resistance that they have to what's on top, what's resting on top, what's false and not actually their true essence, gets activated, and then it wants to fight back, and it doesn't want to take ownership, so it tries to project onto my space. But why I'm mentioning this is because I am here, and this totally will link into your question, Alexandria, I promise. Remember, I'm Webby and I'm full, so all the things will click. So I am here to teach too about the core of who you are, the core essence. I'm currently creating a program. It is called Soul Gold. It's going to be powerful as fuck. I'm going to be bringing people literally through corridors of their soul, which I do so in a sovereign way, because your innermost dimension is your innermost dimension, and it is an untouchable space. Remember that we can have traumas, but nothing will remove our soul from our soul. And that is where your history is. That's where your true Akashic is. That's where your mastery is. That's where your purpose is. That's where your power is. And I'm here to illuminate that in every single person that engages with me and chooses it. So in Soul Gold, I'm going to have it's a 6-month program. And one of those months is going to be dedicated to the core. I'm going to be teaching people and walking them through, again, corridors in order to access their innermost dimension and then become an energetic architect within their innermost dimension. This is tremendously powerful work, y'all. If you're interested in that, then please start saving now, because I don't know when everything's going to come together. Literally, all of my work is divine time. My client sessions are divine time. The people who arrive to me are divine time. It's all divine time. So I don't have a date for it. I don't work necessarily within linear time. I'm a non-linear being. But just keep an eye out on it. So I went all the way as deep as to nuzzle up, and I got to experience Gaia's core, like really close to her core, right? This is love unimaginable at Gaia's core. And then I had lifetimes as an inner earth being, many lifetimes, and I worked my way back up. Okay, this is resurrection. If you are a feminine being, you're familiar with the descend. Then there's the ascend. You go descend into dimensions 2, 1 to 0. You resurrect back up. I also work with feminine initiation, and I traverse very treacherous territories with women who are going through the void space, and trust that working with me will create a fuller bloom when you resurrect. It always does. I bring all the codes. I'm bringing the things. I'm clearing the space. So I finally got to, boom, earth level, right? The 3D level. And I started incarnating as an actual, like human, right? Human, even though I'm on a planetary system, I'm all these other things incarnated, but a human incarnation. And I also worked at the level of being a guide to beings that were human, so that I could weave myself in my multidimensional aspects throughout time and space so that I could become my own guide. So my guides are my angelic self, the one that was in the firmament, right? My planetary system, OG of creation, my time as an Arcturian, the divine child. There are all these various parts of me that are alive in here and weaving into creation. Again, I am a perfect match for that because this is what we will be doing. This is what we will be doing, remembering ourselves. And so I am leading in that way. With the core. Remember that I was talking about Monea and what I did to actually birth New Earth. This larger container was needed to hold Gaia. She, for her becoming, right? Just like when we expand and we come out into the resurrect, we have a larger container holding the totality of who we are. That is a part of your becoming. That's your bloom. The flower gets to bloom further, further, further. Gaia needed something to hold her energetic container in order for her to evolve, in order for, of course, humanity upon her to evolve. So if we look at, I posted something on my story yesterday, a shark, you can put it in like a teeny tiny little fish tank, right? And it'll just grow to like 8 inches or something. But then you put it in the ocean and it grows to 8 feet. The petri dish that we are in is what we become, period. We have been within the petri dish of the broken sacred geometry, which is from the energetic attack that happened on Gaia. It broke her firmament, it broke her sacred geometry, and it came down to earth, and then it created all these fucked up dynamics. It's an energetic like leakage, right, in her body, and we've been living upon her body. So I am here. I do a lot of work with repairing her grid, like the grids, because there's different layers of grids. And yes, exactly, the false matrix. Exactly. So what it did was it inverted, right? Because we have divine masculine and we have divine feminine. Patriarchy is masculine, matrix is for mother, is for feminine, but it did this all fucked up, right? It created the imbalance. It's not in a sacred figure 8, which is why New Earth is in a sacred figure 8. It is a core main code of New Earth. Yesterday, because we are now we're on 2-9, we're in the 2-2 to 222 portal. Yesterday was the day of reciprocity. It was the day of the sacred figure 8 getting grounded in trust. I've been doing so much work with all these portals to get this to this point. So it's just a beautiful, beautiful point of being. Right now, because I just mentioned that, we are in the 9, right? We're at 2-9, and man, you guys, I'm teaching you for full. Please pay me money because it's worth it. Give your money to a new paradigm creator who's doing massive work and like providing teachings like this online, which is absurd. So I had showed this on my other video. Check it out if you haven't seen it. It has lots of information about the portal that we're in and what's going on in the themes and so on and so forth. So we got 9 total days on each side of the portal, 21 total days, 212 is at the center. So 9 is completion. 9 is completion on each side. Now we're at 2-9. We're in a day of completion. And we're moving into a 10, which is a 1 and a 0. And then we're going to have 11, which is the doorways open. We're going to have 12, which is the precipice point, the epicenter, the mini Big Bang of creation. So as you're moving through this process, like today would be a great day of like, I let go of that. I let go of that. Like there's going to be a lot of completion points that are clicking in within your evolutionary spiral. This is for your highest. I'm going to get back to some of these questions, you guys. I have so many threads that I'm really trying to keep it together here. So, let's see. The container, where was I at? Fuck, man, there's so many different ways to travel. When you're full of information, it's easy to get distracted. Okay. So the larger container, the center point, I emerged, I was human, right? I was doing the human work. Oh, right. So one of my main points here was to answer one of your question, Alexandra. Like, it's kind of like, I'm the epicenter. I'm a major anchor. Okay. I was meant to fall as the divine child at that very specific point on Gaia. I have that ley line, her main ley line imprinted upon my body. I then resurrected up into this earth plane. I then did my work to literally blast back off into the quantum field, but it's really just within creation itself, to get that proximity point, to bring all the codes that I have held throughout time, space, and creation, from every incarnation, from every being that I have met beings from all over, right? And then I needed and all of the perfecting geometry. Again, the divine child brings the exacting harmonics. Many people cannot share space with me because my harmonics are so high, they literally glitch out. So it's not easy being a fucking divine child, portal incarnate Monea and walking this earth plane. This is why people don't know where I live. I don't give a lot of my information, and you guys don't know nearly what I'm actually here for. I'm talking about this right now, which seems like a lot. I do not share very particular things for very particular reasons. So I am a center point. I am the center point. When you look at the toroidal container, remember this is going to be some stuff that I will teach in Soul Gold when we get to the month of the core. There is always a center point. Imagine that your body is within this toroidal container. There is a center point. That center point is your core essence. Just like I was saying, Gaia's core essence. I needed to touch her core essence, right, in order to be connected to her epicenter, in order to be the most major anchor on New Earth, in order to ground what is needed to ground in the larger container. The center point is always equal. It is equal to, if it's in proper harmonics, what is held out in the larger container. Okay, so when we're looking at this, the work, for example, that I'm facilitating is people going into their innermost dimension and pulling their soul essence out into their container. Whatever is in your container is what you're experiencing. What we have right now is a reflection, a microcosm to the macrocosm of the damage that was done with that energetic hit that hit Gaia's body, that then created patriarchy. So the filters that many of us are seeing through is patriarchy. It's not our soul's essence. At the core, our soul's essence is always going to remain. Truth will always remain. Always. It's a consistent. It's the most consistent consistency of life is truth itself. So we've got all this junk up in the field, including our own fields, because we are living in another larger container that is patriarchy. The transition from moving from old paradigm to new paradigm is that you've removed this gunk enough that now you can see beyond those limitations so that you can actually coexist and create and build through New Earth. But you have to be a match. You would have had to do your work. You have to be a match in order to actually be moving through New Earth. Because there's a ton of people who are like, I'm into New Earth. I'm about New Earth. And I'm like, you're not even invited. Like, you're not there yet. Like, you're invited in the sense that Gaia wants you to be there, but you have not chosen equal to the invitation. So the center point holds the larger container. I am Monea, mother of New Earth. I birthed the larger container. I traveled out in the galactics. I gathered all the code. I brought it into completion. I pulled it through the portals of dimensional spaces that she had available within her own container. And I'm bringing it to her core to be the most major anchor, to have it then illuminate outward. Woo, 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 woo. Gonna illuminate outward. To emanate the truth of Gaia and her power, because patriarchy did harm her, and she did in ways forget herself. And her true emanation is the most powerful emanation. And that is what I am in service to, because remember that her most powerful emanation is the most powerful emanation within creation, as in for all of creation, because it brings all of these codes from all of the dimensional spaces. She is an epicenter herself of integration. I am an epicenter myself. I am a master integrator. So is Gaia. We are like sisters. I just happen to be in a human body. And so people don't go, oh my God, look at Gaia walking around. Well, that's who I am. Like, I'm not Gaia, but I am at Gaian level, and in some ways I exceed Gaia. There are ways that Gaia can't even hold me. That's just the truth. So when you asked Alexandra about these grids and like, well, what grids are you working with? I'm working with the whole grid and I am the epicenter. And then people go, oh my God, you're so egotistical. But what if I am the epicenter? Is it egotistical to say what truth is? No. Truth is just truth. It just is what it is. If your wounded ego gets activated by that, that is yours, not mine. I will not hold it. I'm just here for truth. And again, the fact that I'm even saying this in public is is amazing. Okay, so I'm gonna look back up at some of these things. Okay, it is the Fibonacci spiral. I think you're asking Alexandra, is the Fibonacci spiral false coding? It is not. It is pure form. I had an interaction with someone yesterday. Oh God, he didn't know it, but he was basically working out entity level stuff around holy water. I go fill up spring water like maybe once or twice, once every 2 weeks or so. And this guy was just completely infiltrated by the fourth dimension. And that's a whole other topic. But he saw the triangles on my wrists. And I said, yes, I have. He said, one. He said, I saw a triangle. I said, yes, I have two, the Merkaba. And he's like, I've been doing art for a long time using sacred geometry. And then I realized, oh, it's like an infiltration. And I said, that's not true. I said, that's not true at all. Anyone who says that sacred geometry is the infiltration, that's actually the infiltration. And I know this because I'm an energetic architect within creation. I know this because I have Arcturian technology. I know this because I can sense and feel truth. I know this because I have discernment. And not everyone has discernment. And when you don't have discernment and you're moving through the fourth dimension, then you're going to be in the inverse reality. You are going to start working for the false light or whatever it may be. And you're going to start claiming that things that are pure are impure because you can't sense what is pure. Remember, I'm a divine child. I hold the essence of purity. I'm a match for purity. So it gives me an easier way of accessing that's truth, that isn't truth. Not everyone has that. And I get it. I get it, you guys. Like, I have come here with skills and tools that other people they didn't have in their back pocket. And so I have compassion for us being on various areas within the spectrum. And two, compassion doesn't mean I don't hold myself as one of the highest evolutionary beings that are here on this earth plane, when that's what I am. That's what I am. We need to know who the teachers are in the room in order to know who the true leaders are. Because we've got all this patriarchal bullshit where it's like, this is a leader. That's not a fucking leader. I'm a leader. This is what a leader looks like. Okay, so let me look back some of the other questions. Have you healed your DNA? Perfect. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. The crystal spiral grid is an organic, natural blueprint. Okay, I'm familiar without being completely familiar because remember, I don't research things. I hold original blueprint. That's part of being a divine child. I hold original blueprint. I hold the code. I hold the code of source because I was an OG of creation, but that's the golden thread that I weave with. But also I hold the original blueprint, which also is tuned into Gaia's original blueprint. So if your original blueprint, again, you have the resonance, you have the proximity for original blueprint itself. So I'm holding Gaia's original blueprint as well. So it's almost like if we think about ourselves as doing inner child work, and what you're doing with inner child work, which by the way, I have an intensive, it's the divine child. It's really potent. And right now in this time and moving forward, the divine child is going to be essential. So if you're interested in that process, check out my intensive through my website. You can check out my link in my bio. And if you have gained value from this, then know that you can also provide to me financially through either PayPal or Venmo. My link again is in my bio. So being an original blueprint means that you have the resonance of original blueprint, which means that you can bring through more original blueprint. So this is how I help people, my clients, bring their original blueprint through. And I'm also doing so with Gaia as well. And this original blueprint is going to, right, when we get back to our original blueprint, we're moving to the core essence, right? Remember I said soul essence sits at the center. That's original blueprint. All the truth is here. Truth is here. So bringing that out, like when you do your inner child work, you're actually bringing your purpose out. You're bringing your mastery out. You're bringing magic out. You're bringing the keys, right? You've got the keys. I always say the inner child work always leads to the keys because the divine child always holds the keys, its original blueprint. What we're doing, though, is we're the divine child moving throughout creation, which means that we've got the keys, and then those keys continue to provide provision. I always say the divine child has the most provision. So what I mean by that is that what's sitting at the core essence that's then emanating out into the larger container, so that's New Earth. So even though this is truth that rests at Gaia's innermost essence, she's also an evolutionary being, right? So she's evolving too, just like we're evolving. So when you take evolution and then you merge it and you weave it with original blueprint, you're going to get the next evolution of original blueprint. So you're going to get clean harmonic weaving from the next evolution, which is the larger container, which holds us in our evolutionary processes. I hope that that translates. Have you healed your DNA? Whew, okay, girl, there's so many levels to this. I'm almost hitting an hour. I am here to, another reason why I'm here, again, I serve many purposes, y'all, is to bring the new DNA in. Why would I not? Doing everything that I just explained, this is who I am, this is the work that I'm doing, why would I not be bringing in the new DNA? The new DNA, I started seeing it actually come into being in the quantum field and the etheric. So great to know it's coming and then you actually see it. So I started seeing it more and more and more. And again, I can't tell you guys completely how I am actually doing this because it's too sacred to talk about. I won't share. I don't know. I think maybe sometime in my 80s, once I've done the work and it's safe to say the fullness of who I am and how I've done these things, maybe it'll come out. I'm hoping someone puts all my life videos together. I record my life, you guys, because my story's not going to be rewritten, right? I've learned from those before me, like Jesus. So, yeah, the DNA. I am here to create the new DNA. So I was seeing within the field, oh, the new DNA, it's finally available. Fuck yes. Fuck yes. And then what happened? Maybe 2 weeks after, I got the sick. Okay, the sick was created in order to actually harm our DNA and to prevent evolution itself in consciousness. That's why it enters your body like an entity. It's so synthetic and it can take over, your mind and all of these things. But that's the thing is it's like, remember what I said, that malevolence is always in service to benevolence ultimately because creation itself is benevolent. That is what the alchemist knows. I'm an ultimate alchemist. And so of course I'm going to get the sick and have it to a really high level because it's trying to do the infiltrated version of what I am actually here to do in pure form, which is create the new DNA and have that be an inheritance to Earth and all Earth beings. So this, the fractured DNA is the patriarchal DNA. If you look at it, the lines are not actually touching. And what I mean by that is it makes it so that we cannot remember ourselves because the truth is existing within those strands of DNA. Those strands of DNA are connected to all that we have been throughout all time and space, all throughout all of creation. So remember again, I was talking about multidimensional integration, beings from the Pleiades, beings from that are Syrian, Lyran, elemental, angelic, blah, 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 whatever, right, is all in that DNA. Patriarchy says you are not allowed to remember yourself. It puts us in a state of amnesia. It also says you cannot be in your power. It also says you cannot be in your fullness. Okay, that's what it does. It has to do that in order to enslave us. Because if we knew the totality of who we are, we'd be like, that's stupid. That doesn't make any sense. I'm a powerful ass creator. Why am I going to listen to you? It's like listening to a kicking, screaming, agitated child, right? When you know that this is the direction and you know how powerful you are. So, the DNA needed a nesting. I talked about this in the previous video a little bit. Please do go look at it. It has a lot of information. If you receive value, then feel free to provide financial contribution. So in the previous video, I was talking about how this portal, this gateway from 22 to 222 has a sacred figure 8 in it. When we live in a state of duality that's just this or that and this or that is pitted against this or that, it's broken. It has no center point. Remember I said the center point is original blueprint. and it's also a needed, necessary element of creation. So we can't have a sacred figure 8 while we have just this and that. That's what patriarchy has wanted. Us versus them, right? So that pattern has actually imprinted into DNA itself to keep us in a fractured state where we couldn't remember ourselves. But we also needed a larger consciousness container in order for us to remember ourselves, because we are very powerful beings. And so the DNA is going to, we now have a larger container that's available. Thank you to me, because I birthed it and then devoted in for a really long time to get it to be here. And then we have the DNA, which is actually going to be the strands that are going to come in for us to remember ourselves. And they are now going to be in a sacred figure 8. Sacred figure 8 is an organic form of creation. It expands in all directions. It's naturally integrative. Instead of it being this or that, we're going, oh, I was this and this and this and this and this and this and this. Ooh, look at how my lifetime as an Arcturian, when it's integrated with my lifetime as a Palladian, actually brings both of them into a higher state of being. Because there are things that the Palladians need that in their original kind of form, without integration, they're not going to have access to, that the Arcturians have. And there are things that the Arcturians have that, or that the Palladians have that the Arcturians need. This is the integration that we're going to start weaving with inside of ourselves, and it's going to translate to the entire galactics, from every single place that we have come from every single being on this earth plane. That is bad the fuck badass. And it needs the new strands of golden DNA. I say golden DNA just because I create with the golden thread, and the golden thread is related to the original source point, which is original blueprint. But it's more than that. It doesn't just look gold, right? It looks like everything, and it has the nesting effect. With the nesting effects, it does like a sacred figure 8. I mean a flower of life, right? It just creates and creates and creates and creates and expands and expands and expands and expands. This is what's going to allow us to remember ourselves. So that is my response to the DNA, and that does connect in with your original question. Now let me see what else I got here. That's why the figure 8 has been channeling through me. Oh, it's so good. So good. Keep channeling it. New paradigm creator in the house. Yes, new paradigm creators are my people. So thank you for being here. And then let me see this last comment before I jump off here. If you look at the mathematics between the Fibonacci and the Christic spiral, the math for the Fibonacci is a closed circuit and infinite matrix. The Christic spiral is connected to source consciousness and is infinite. I love that. This is not something that I'm, again, because I don't do the research pieces, that I'm not as familiar with. But the only thing that I can say relative to the Fibonacci sequence is that it is a pattern within creation, and a pattern within creation itself. It's got, what I'm hearing myself say is a pattern within creation itself has its own point of completion. So I don't know what that channeling means there, you guys, but it just is what it is. And I'm not familiar with the Christic spiral, again, because I don't do the research stuff. But girl, if you want to send me some information, and trust, I don't invite information from other people, but because I am actually here saying, feel free to send me some information if you feel like it could kind of help me thread some of the work that I do together, like things that I already know, but I don't know from research. Feel free to send it to me. I hope this video has been supportive to you and informative. It was full. It looks very similar. I will send you links. Perfect. Sounds good. So yeah, I love you guys so much. If this resonated with you and you think someone else could benefit from it, please feel free to share. Do share my name, share my work with Resonant Community, because I really want to keep it high quality, and I trust the people who are high quality in this space to use their discernment to recommend my work and build bridges for connection, so we can expand this work and what I'm showing up with into the world in a very potent, profound, needed, and necessary way. Much love.